Welcome back, Wood Creek. This is Ryan Brown with the third report in a special series based on our exclusive interview with Placer County District Attorney Morgan Geyer. In this interview, you will learn more about the fentanyl crisis facing Placer County, why it's important to educate yourself, and what's being done to save lives.
Sadly, our community is not immune from the fentanyl crisis that is taking place across the state and across the nation. We are seeing an increase in deaths, particularly young deaths. We have seen the fentanyl death eclipse the death rate in other areas, including even the COVID pandemic, gun violence. The fentanyl crisis is becoming the #1 cause of death for a lot of our youth in our state and in our community. There are two forms of it. The most common that we see is the fentanyl poisoning. Young people primarily are buying what they think are other pills. They are buying what they think are Percocet or Xanax or some sort of pain relief for a sports injury or whatever the reason is that people are trying to obtain medicine, and they're getting duped. It is fentanyl disguised as something else, and more often than not, it's going to be a lethal dose of fentanyl that you buy from a social media platform on the street. These drugs are not made in a pharmacy. These are not prescribed by a doctor. These are made in street labs. They are then smuggled into our community and distributed by drug dealers. And there's a very good chance that if you take a pill that you purchase on the street that has a lethal dose of fentanyl, and you could likely die. Just to put it in perspective, 98% of the pills that you purchase online contain fentanyl. And of those pills, 4 out of 10 are fatal, which means you have a 40% chance of dying the first time you take one. It's as if you put a batch of chocolate chip cookies and you add chocolate chips. If you get an extra chocolate chip in your particular cookie, it's fatal. That's how I sort of put it in perspective. 4 out of 10 are fatal. 98% of the pills on the street right now are fentanyl. We have partnered with our healthcare providers, with our law enforcement, with our social services, and most importantly with families who have suffered incredible loss from this fentanyl crisis. And they are the ones, those family members have demonstrated such strength and turned their anguish into action to go out and to tell their stories. And that's who people are going to listen to. So we have kind of joined forces with all of the stakeholders in this realm to get the message out. And that message is going to parents, it's going into the schools for kids, it's going to town halls, it's going to districts, and it's going to social media campaigns and billboard campaigns. You'll see it on buses. We're just trying to get the message out as much and as often as we can to try and stop any more deaths from occurring from this crisis. So we will be talking to everyone who will listen about the dangers. That's exactly the whole point of this, is so that there is a dialogue between parents, students, teachers, student to student, that all of these conversations are happening, because that's the only way we can stop this. The advice is have the difficult conversations with your kids. It's not easy to talk about drug use or experimentation or depression. We've seen that increase during the last couple of years, where we were seeing friends and family fewer and less often. But these are questions and talks and conversations you have to have with your kids. You have to open that line of communication. If a child is struggling with something, you may not know it. And many of the kids who have died of these fentanyl poisonings showed no signs of any sort of drug addiction. There were no struggles with experimentation of drugs. These were, in one instance it was because a child was stressed because of school. In another it was because of a baseball injury that they just wanted the pain to stop. You have to ask what's going on with your kids. And I have young kids, and I have these conversations too, so that they are aware of it. And until that line of communication opens, we can't really kind of get our hands around this problem. We're not going to be able to enforce our way or arrest our way with all of the drug dealers. It's going to start by parents knowing what to look for, knowing what questions to ask, what conversations to have, and it really starts with just checking in and saying what's going on. And the more we understand that, the more we can try and make our kids aware of those dangers and stop them from even pursuing it in the first place. One of the wonderful things about our community is we have a tremendous amount of resources available to parents and to kids to try and deal with these issues. The easiest thing is to go to onepillcankillplaster.com, where there are links to Health and Human Services, to counseling services. You can always call either your local doctor, or you can always call any of your local health providers in the county, even government, like Health and Human Services providers, and they will connect you immediately with services that can be of use in these kinds of situations. But the important thing is to reach out, and the onepillcankillplaster.com is a nice clearinghouse for resources for folks who have questions, can get those questions answered. And the most important thing to know is lots of people are struggling with these issues, and you're not alone. You can get the help that you need, and you can get your questions answered from professionals. The points of these conversations is to destigmatize this and let those conversations happen without shame, fear, guilt, and all of those things that are associated with these kinds of issues, particularly with drug use. And it is something that needs to be dealt with, and there can't be that shame around it. Mm-hmm. Our office and all of the people involved in the fentanyl campaign are always willing to come out and answer questions, or talk at events, or do whatever we can to spread the message. So I would encourage anyone who is interested to learn more about the issue to check out those resources and call on us as much as you need so that we can help.
Good Morning Wood Creek wants to extend a special thanks to Placer County District Attorney Morgan Geyer for taking the time to educate us about this life-threatening crisis and to provide us with helpful resources at www.onepillcankillplaster.com. This is Ryan Brown wishing each of you a safe and fun school year, Wood Creek.